"You can't afford a dinner at that restaurant." My mother's words rang out as she glanced at the invitation to Versailles. I clutched it in my hand, knowing she was underestimating me. Today, on Dad's birthday, she would find out just how wrong she was. My relationship with my mother had always been complicated. She was the kind of parent who lived by a ready-made script for her children and couldn't accept any deviations. In her vision, my life was supposed to be flawless. Top grades, a degree in law or medicine, a stable job, a mortgage, and a suitable wife from the same social bubble. Everything mapped out in advance. But I chose another path, the path of an artist. Since childhood, I saw the world in colors and shapes others seemed blind to. I could spend hours with a pencil, creating entire worlds on paper. To my mother, it was nothing more than a silly pastime. She tolerated my drawing, but only as a hobby, never as a future. When I stubbornly announced that I would be enrolling in art school, she threw a scene. Her words still echo in my ears. "You're wasting your life. It's childish. Who's going to feed you?" I didn't back down. And yes, the first years were hard. Living paycheck to paycheck, cheap rented apartments, sleepless nights, endless side jobs just to pay the bills, but I kept painting. I believed it wasn't in vain. My mother, however, used every chance to remind me of my mistakes. Her favorite phrase, "I told you so," rang out as if every failure of mine was proof of her prophecy. What she didn't know was that there was more behind it. I wasn't just painting for exhibitions. I had created my own line of exclusive decor for hotels and restaurants. First, just small orders, then bigger ones. My work became popular among interior designers. The reputation grew quietly but steadily. Contracts expanded. Profits followed. I didn't tell my family about any of it because I wanted to prove I could succeed on my own without her faith or her blessing, especially without her blessing. My father, on the other hand, was always on my side. He didn't care how much I earned. He always told me, "If you're happy doing what you love, the money will find you." Those words kept me going in the darkest moments. And that's why I decided his 60th birthday would be the perfect chance to thank him. He had always dreamed of dinner at Versailles, a restaurant wrapped in legend. Exquisite interiors, an internationally renowned chef, prices that could intimidate anyone. To him, it was always a symbol of unattainable luxury. And I decided to make that dream real. I didn't just book a table. I reserved the entire VIP hall with a panoramic view of the city. I wanted this night to be unforgettable. And, in a way, it was also my small revenge on my mother. When she heard about the restaurant, she scoffed. "Are you serious? Versailles? Do you know how much dinner costs there? Don't be ridiculous. Let's just go to Margarita. At least they have normal pizza instead of your experiments on a plate." I didn't argue. I just quietly sent her the invitation. I knew that no matter what, she wouldn't refuse. On the day of the celebration, we met outside the restaurant. Mom was tense, her face a mix of skepticism and nervousness. She kept adjusting her dress, glancing around like she was afraid someone might see her standing in front of such an elite place. Dad, in contrast, was glowing with excitement, like a child. "I never thought I'd actually be here. Thank you, son," he whispered, hugging me tightly. We walked inside. The luxurious interior sparkled with gold and crystal. Soft lighting cast warm shades on the walls, and refined aromas drifted through the air. Every employee greeted us with respect, and I only nodded back, trying not to attract attention. I had asked the staff beforehand not to mention that I was the owner. I didn't want to spoil the surprise. When the hostess led us to the table, Mom froze. It wasn't just a table. It was a private hall with glass walls opening onto the breathtaking night view of the city. How did you manage this?" she whispered. "Connections." I smiled. She gave me a long, suspicious look. Doubt mixed with unease in her eyes. We sat down. Dad joked. My sister filmed everything for social media, but Mom just nervously squeezed the napkin in her hands. When the waiter came to take our order, he accidentally handed me the administrator's tablet, the one used to control the whole restaurant. I recognized it instantly. It was a mistake. I I don't know what this is, I said, trying to stay calm. The waiter turned pale. He leaned in, whispering anxiously, "Forgive me, sir. I didn't realize you weren't working tonight." The words were loud enough for my mother to hear. She froze. "What does that mean?" Her voice was thin and sharp. I knew the moment had come. I had planned to tell them later, but there was no point hiding it now. "No, Mom, I'm not a waiter," I said firmly. "Then who are you?" Her hands trembled. I took a deep breath. "I'm the owner of this restaurant. I bought Versailles 2 months ago." Silence fell, heavy, crushing. Dad froze, my sister's mouth hung open. And Mom laughed. It was a nervous laugh that quickly turned into tears. "You're joking? This is a joke? You own Versailles?" I pulled the office keys from my pocket and set them on the table. "This isn't a joke. I can show you everything." She stared at the keys, then at me, then back at the keys again. Her face shifted between pale and flushed. "And you let me say that you couldn't afford this?" Her voice broke. "I wanted you to see how wrong you were," I answered calmly. The rest of the evening was unforgettable. Dad cried with happiness, my sister kept recording, and Mom sat mostly in silence, throwing me long looks from time to time. After dinner, she asked to see the office. I led her through the corridors, showed her the contracts, the design projects, the legal documents. She stayed quiet for a long time. Only as we headed home did she finally whisper, "I was wrong. You've always been talented. I was just blinded by my prejudices. I'm proud of you, son." Those words were the most valuable gift of all. I walked beside her, feeling the weight of years of doubt fall away. Now, in the family, they jokingly call me the boss. Dad proudly tells everyone about my restaurant. And Mom still shakes her head every time she sees Versailles mentioned in the news or magazines. And maybe, for the first time in her life, she doesn't look at me as the boy who made a mistake, but as a man who proved he was capable of more. We stepped inside. The restaurant was everything its reputation promised and more. Golden chandeliers spilled warm light across polished marble floors. Crystal glasses sparkled on every table like tiny prisms. The air itself carried a subtle perfume, notes of truffle, roasted herbs, and something smoky that made the place feel more like a dream than reality. Every staff member we passed greeted us with a slight bow or a respectful nod. Their eyes lingered on me longer than they should have, and I had to remind myself to keep my expression neutral. I had already spoken to them in advance. No greetings, no titles tonight. Treat me as a guest. I didn't want the truth revealed yet. Not until the right moment. The hostess, graceful and poised, led us past the crowded main hall, filled with murmurs of business deals and clinking of expensive wine glasses. We kept walking until she opened a glass door and gestured us inside. The VIP hall. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the entire skyline of the city, shimmering in the night like a field of stars. Plush chairs, a table set with immaculate white linen, candles that flickered in tall glass holders. It looked less like dinner and more like a scene from a film. Mom froze at the threshold. This isn't just a table. How did you manage this?" She whispered, as if speaking louder might break the illusion. I smiled faintly. "Connections." Her eyes narrowed. She didn't believe me, not fully, but she said nothing. She just clutched her handbag tighter, her knuckles pale. Dad, meanwhile, looked around as though he had walked into heaven itself. "Would you look at this view? I never dreamed I'd sit in a place like this." His voice cracked slightly. I caught the tears shimmering at the corners of his eyes and felt something twist warmly inside my chest. We sat. The server poured water into our glasses, his hands steady but his eyes flickering toward me in recognition. I gave him a quick, warning glance. He nodded almost imperceptibly and retreated. My sister giggled quietly as she filmed on her phone. Dad cracked a joke about whether the menu would need a loan application. Mom didn't laugh. She sat stiffly, twisting her napkin, glancing at me with suspicion every few seconds. The menus arrived, thick leather-bound tomes embossed with the restaurant's crest. Dad flipped through his with childlike curiosity, pointing out dishes he couldn't pronounce. Mom glanced at hers but said nothing. Then it happened. The waiter returned, carrying what was supposed to be the digital menu tablet. Only it wasn't the guest version. It was the administrator's tablet, the one used to control orders, inventory, reservations, even finances. My tablet. The moment I saw the screen, my stomach dropped. He'd made a mistake. I tried to play it off. I don't know what this is, I said casually, sliding it back toward him. The waiter's face drained of color. His lips parted in panic. He leaned down, whispering quickly but not quietly enough. "Forgive me, sir. I didn't realize you weren't working tonight." The words hit the air like a hammer. Mom froze. Dad's smile faded. My sister lowered her phone slowly, her eyes wide. Mom's voice was sharp, brittle, almost trembling. "What does that mean? Why would he say that? Are you working here? As a waiter? Is that how you paid for this?" I looked at her. I didn't blink. I didn't flinch. For once, I wanted her to see the strength she had always doubted in me. "No, Mom, I'm not a waiter." Her eyes burned into me. "Then who are you?" I drew in a breath, steady and deep. "I'm the owner. I bought this restaurant 2 months ago." The silence that followed was absolute. Even the hum of the city outside seemed to vanish. Dad's jaw slackened. My sister's mouth hung open. And Mom laughed. It wasn't joyous laughter. It was sharp, nervous, disbelieving. "You're joking. This is a joke. You own Versailles?" I reached into my jacket pocket and set a small bundle of keys on the table. "The office keys. This isn't a joke. I can show you everything." Her laughter faltered. She stared at the keys, then at me, then back at the keys again. Her face shifted between pale and flushed, disbelief and dawning realization fighting for dominance. "And you let me say you couldn't afford this?" Her voice cracked on the last words. I met her gaze, calm, steady. "I wanted you to see how wrong you were." That night, after everything, she couldn't sleep. She sat at the kitchen table, the lamp casting a small circle of light, a blank sheet of paper in front of her. For years, she had spoken to him with certainty, with authority. Now, for the first time, she struggled to find words. She wrote slowly, her handwriting uneven. "Son, I don't know how to begin this. I spent so many years convinced that I was right, that the only way for you to succeed was the way I had imagined. I thought I was protecting you. I thought I was guiding you. But tonight I realized I wasn't protecting you at all. I was holding you back. I was blind, not to your struggle, but to your strength. Every time you fell and stood back up, I called it failure. I didn't see it for what it was, courage. When the waiter called you sir, when you laid those keys on the table, I felt something break inside me. Shame, regret, pride, love, all at once. I saw not the boy I tried to control, but the man you've become. You didn't need my blessing. You built all of this without me. And still, you chose to share it with us, with your father, with your sister, with me. That is more kindness than I deserve. I was wrong, son. I am proud of you. I am proud beyond words. Please forgive me for not saying it sooner. Asterisk. She stopped there, staring at the words. Her hands trembled. For once, she didn't cross anything out. She folded the paper carefully, leaving it on his chair, knowing he would find it in the morning.